Good afternoon. This is the regularly scheduled meeting for the Caldwell Hearing Examiner for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025, and it is 1:30. This is a public hearing, and as a hearing examiner, I can hear quasi-judicial decisions concerning particular land use applications for the city of Caldwell. During this public hearing process, public oral testimony will be taken from those in attendance and those who have signed up to speak. This sign-up sheet is available at the front of the room. When you testify, you must come to the podium. Please speak into the microphone and state your full name and address. All comments should be addressed to myself and should be relevant to the application. Once the public hearing is open, we will give staff the first 10 minutes, and then the applicant or applicant's representative will be given 10 minutes to speak. Public testimony will then be open to anyone who has signed up to speak in favor, neutral, or in opposition. This will be limited to 3 minutes of testimony per person. And finally, the applicant or the applicant's representative will be permitted for a 5-minute rebuttal. After the rebuttal is given, the public hearing portion of the hearing will be closed and no new oral or written testimony will be allowed unless I decide to reopen the public hearing. We request that everyone treats all parties with fairness and respect. We are required by Idaho State Code to take written minutes for the public hearings. Therefore, we need to silence our cell phones throughout the duration of the hearing. And thank you. Okay, let's take a look at our agenda. First thing is an action item to approve the May 13th, 2025 hearing examiner meeting minutes, which we have done. And we have an old business item. This is SUP 24-19. The applicant, Eric Salinas, is requesting approval of a special use permit for an event center in the traditional neighborhood zone. The site includes 2 parcels, one parcel with a building that was previously been used as a restaurant, and a second parcel that is undeveloped. The intent is to use the site for an indoor and outdoor events, including a location for a placement of mobile food units. The site is located at 424 Elgin Street for one parcel, and on the north side, East Denver Street and North Avenue for the second parcel. And with that, staff, would you like to present? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Hearing Examiner. Garlene Davis, Planner 1, 205 South 6th Avenue in Caldwell, Idaho. Before you is a special use permit application for the Amande Event Center. The subject site, comprising of 2 parcels totaling approximately 0.56 acres, is located on the intersection of North 5th Avenue and Denver Street, and the intersection of North 5th Avenue and East Elgin Street in Caldwell. The site has frontages on East Elgin Street, Denver Street, North 5th Avenue, as well as a public alley. The site was initially permitted to operate as a nightclub / event center under SUP SUP-09-14 within the then Service Commercial 3C zoning district. After rezoning to the traditional neighborhood district, it received another SUP, SUP 18-03 for a nightclub use. But this permit was revoked due to non-compliance. The site also faced several code enforcement complaints and investigation from 2019 to 2020. 2022. However, it is important to clarify that these violations were associated with different business entities and ownerships. The applicant, who is Mr. Castaneda, who has entered a leasing agreement with Mr. Eric Salinas. Okay. Mr. Castaneda has never previously owned or operated a business at that location. Okay. The context is provided to offer a complete understanding of the site's operational history and background. The project site is currently surrounded by an array of land uses comprising of both residential dwellings and commercial establishments, specifically restaurants, as depicted in the picture. The applicant is requesting a special use permit to create an indoor event center with outdoor event space and a mobile food unit. The northeastern portion of the parcel includes a restaurant area which has recently reopened, and the southern two-thirds of the building will be used for the event center space. The center will provide a venue for family and community events, dance rehearsals, and other community functions. It will operate during normal business hours as well as on weekends until midnight. Food and drinks, including alcohol, will be served according to state and city regulations. The event center will feature recorded and live music. According to the Caldwell City Code, the TN Traditional Neighborhood Zone aims to create, preserve, and enhance areas with a mix of residential, commercial, and community uses. The applicant is requesting a special use permit for an indoor-outdoor event center and mobile food unit in this zone. No rezoning is proposed. Staff finds that the proposal is to be consistent with the zoning district, noting that it will be utilizing an underused structure and enhance the community gathering options and connectivity. The special use permit application was submitted prior to the adoption of the 2025 Caldwell Comprehensive Plan, and therefore it was evaluated under the previous comp plan, 2040.
Okay.
The 2040 Comprehensive Plan designates the subject site and adjacent properties as TN, Traditional Neighborhood, with nearby areas designated for business and manufacturing and production. The comp plan aims for TN to be a blend of medium and high residential, as well as small-scale commercial, entertainment, educational, office, and open space uses for residents within a half-a-mile radius. That is the previous comp plan. The current comp plan, 2025, designate the area as urban neighborhood. It is primarily a residential zoning with medium and high density. Non-residential use are integrated and interspersed throughout the area and may include live workspaces, offices, retail, and service uses, typically small and under 5,000 square feet. Staff finds that the project aligns well with both the 2040 comp plan and the newly adopted comp plan. The proposed development project has been analyzed for compliance with city code, and staff finds that the project meets all city zoning ordinances for parking. The site requires a total of 37 parking spaces. The applicant proposes 37 parking spaces. Arrangement will be provided for the outdoor events and mobile food unit operations. During these events, indoor facilities will be used for staging and seating, and up to 4 food trucks will be parked in designated spaces, leaving at least 30 parking spaces available for customers. All necessary utilities are or will be available as outlined in the engineering staff report and must meet City of Caldwell requirements. The applicant has provided adequate trees, shrubs, and turf within the street buffer and the parking lot. A reduction in the 15-foot landscape buffer to 10 feet has been approved to accommodate for parking. That is at the request of the applicant.
Okay.
Although the land use buffer requirement typically applies between the restaurant portion of the site and the adjacent residential dwellings, staff acknowledge that there is no available space for such a buffer between the two structures. Additionally, existing fencing is noted between the site and adjacent parcels. Staff concludes that the proposed landscaping complies with code requirements. The fire engineering and mapping department have approved the project and provided conditions of approval. We received no public comments on the proposal. The Caldwell Police Chief, in coordination with the Idaho State Police, specifically the Alcohol Beverage Control Department, conducted an on-site inspection as part of the state's evaluation for a multi-purpose arena endorsement for the location's alcohol distribution license. As a condition of the state-level endorsement, the applicant and staff completed an alcohol retailer training focused on Idaho's laws and the responsible operation of licensed venues. Staff finds the project aligns with the city's comprehensive plan and it will benefit the community. However, staff recommends imposing a deadline for the landscaping and parking improvements to be completed within 6 months before the event center begins operations, with the termination of this SUP as the consequence for non-compliance. Staff is also concerned about potential noise contamination affecting the community, its health, safety, and welfare. Staff notes that the applicant proposes to stop using outdoor amplification devices half an hour after sunset, and staff would recommend adherence to that proposal. Staff recommends that if the hearing examiner approves the project, that the request be subject to the conditions as specified in the findings of fact, conclusions of law, and order of decision. I will now stand for any questions.
Thank you. I don't have any questions, but maybe, Haley, I had a question on the future site and off-site parking does not meet current code requirements. Can we discuss that a little bit?
Madam Examiner, I am not sure on the parking requirements.
Okay.
Planning and zoning typically is the one that dictates
okay.
parking requirements, so
Okay.
Garlene
I'm
may
sorry.
have a better...
I didn't know if it was you or not.
No worries at all.
It is like, let's see. 2, 3, 4. It's like page 9 in. Talks about that from Elgin Road. It says, although the current and future site access and off-street parking adjacent to Elgin Street do not meet code requirements, they have been historically permitted due to existing use. So they're grandfathered in.
Yes,
Okay.
that is referring to the site having vehicles back directly onto the road.
Okay.
And that's a use that's been allowed.
Okay.
And it didn't seem it was possible to have it changed, and engineering did not require them to close that access.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my one question. Okay, thank you. Would the applicant or applicant's representative like to come up? Mr. Orton?
Thank
Name and
you.
address?
My name is Brent Orton with Orton Engineering, and my business address is 17338 Sunnydale Place in Caldwell. And we really appreciate the opportunity to present on this project, and also very appreciative of staff. They've been very helpful to guide us through the whole process. I don't drink, and so securing an alcoholic beverage license was based, and I didn't do that myself. I just assisted Mr. Castaneda. He did the heavy lifting on that. But the staff helped him a ton, and they helped me a ton with things I thought I understood from watching City Council consider alcoholic beverage licenses. Anyway, good learning process. Thanks for your patience, Sylvester.
Yeah.
The one quick thing before I forget, And that is that one thing we would ask is if we could have permission to begin the conditional use permits, particularly for being able to do the quinceañeras and things, to start generating some revenue for Sylvester while we're completing the improvements. That said, I will point out that he's waiting on me for a traffic control plan so he can move forward with paving the parking lot. And what else exactly, in what order he's pursuing the other improvements, I don't know, but we have some sidewalk improvements to make, upfitting the corner for ADA accessibility,
Okay.
the new right-of-way access guide requirements. And we've got to move our approach on Denver Street. There are 2 approaches now and they don't comply, and so we'll be moving one of those approaches to comply and eliminating the other. So anyway, that's the one thing we would ask, is if we could please allow him to do that. That'd be great. The restaurant is operating now, and so I guess I should get into the presentation and show you that. My next slide. So Garlene did a wonderful job presenting, so I won't dwell on this. The landowner is currently Eric Salinas, as she pointed out, and Sylvester, as she emphasized, he is in contract to purchase the property. I'll just throw in there, as we met with the neighbors for our neighborhood meeting, the neighbors had some negative experiences with the past use. Not only that, not to be disrespectful to any past user, but just to be factual, the police department had a number of challenges with the way that use was operating previously, so it's understandable that the special use permit was revoked. Also, the parking lot was required to be paved. It wasn't paved previously. Ironically, the parking lot was paved 20 years ago, and I don't know why they just grotesquely neglected it, or someone broke it up because they thought they were doing something else, is unclear, but there's still quite a few remnants of asphalt out there. And so Sylvester is ready to, he was hoping to get in and get that done before our meeting, but he's made significant improvements to the inside of the building, and he's just trying to regulate his capital outlay for, to manage costs and things. So, but he has asked me for that traffic control plan. He's already got a contractor on board to do the sidewalk and the asphalt and stuff, so I think he'll have that performed very quickly, and we're totally happy to be submitted to a requirement to have that done within 6 months. Thank you. Garlene covered this well, so we'll kick right along and skip this slide. Okay, so the mobile food units, what Sylvester's vision there was, and his vision as the neighbors, a couple of the neighbors who attended the neighborhood meeting would probably, it was very noisy, and the nightclub scene is not what Sylvester's going for. He's looking for something, if people didn't desire to have alcohol at quinceañeras, we probably wouldn't have done probably for the restaurant, yes, but probably wouldn't have done the alcoholic beverage license for the site endorsement, only because that's about what he's looking for there. He's not looking for, thanks, Darlene. He's not looking for a nightclub type venue, and he also intends, during the day, he'd love to let it out to a dance studio or to, similar allowed uses to hopefully get good revenue on the site during the day, and then be able to use it for quinceañeras and family events at night. Let's see, and he's got a few electrical pedestals out there. I honestly anticipate we may be coming back for another electrical permit to upfit those, because they're just 120, 20 amp circuits right now, and I think those food trucks are probably gonna need like a 30 amp breaker, but this is the Business Improvement District boundary. And you can see the site outlined in red. So one of the concerns was, hey, do we conflict with the Business Improvement District, because it has its own set of rules for mobile food trucks and things, and so we just want to make sure that we were clear of that, and we happen to be clear of it. This, as you can see, some of the improvements that have been made to the restaurant area. It's operational now. Food is great. We ate there for my son's graduation party, or family gathering, I guess. And then you can see the event space in the bottom. So I think I can show you on this next slide. So in the building, the Elgin frontage, that first about third of the building is the restaurant.
Okay.
And the rest of the building is the event center. So we have included ADA parking stalls on both sides, because those attending the restaurant, we have to address those separately, as we understand when we talk to the building department. So that's why you have ADA accommodations on both sides, including the van accessible spaces. The landscaping, this is the landscape plan, and we appreciate the staff's and the city's understanding with us in accommodating this, the building in its existing situation, and the 10-foot reduction was a huge help. It allowed us to meet the parking requirements, to get full 3 rows of parking in there. So we appreciate that very much. And then we have the public right-of-way for Elgin Street. Actually, a lot of the parking, I think this is one of the things that Garlene was mentioning, a lot of the parking on Elgin is actually in public right-of-way. A lot of that outside the curb cut and things is. And so, and we wanted to put patio dining on that side. And so the engineering department and planning and zoning departments assisted us. Engineering helped us to get the encroachment agreement entered into there to cover the use of public right-of-way, which we of course understand that at any time, in accordance with the agreement, anytime the city needs that right-of-way for public purposes, then of course we need to move off of it. So we understand that. Just a close-up of the landscape plan. And then the parking lot improvements, the driveway, you can see a small driveway apron that's kind of superimposed within the larger proposed driveway apron on the Denver Street frontage there. That's one of the existing approaches, and then there's another one closer to the intersection of Fifth and Denver that needs to go away. Then we're also, engineering has been very helpful to us in working around existing irrigation boxes. We are just wrapping the sidewalk around those irrigation boxes, so you can see that both at the alley between the building and the parking lot. There's a public right-of-way that's an alley that contains the sewer main and other utilities. And so we'll wrap around that irrigation box to make sure we can satisfy the ADA requirements.
Okay.
And they also allowed us to do a unique wing. So you see there's a wing on that pedestrian approach on pedestrian ramp on Denver, and then the other side of it actually runs up against with a curb and then runs up against the irrigation box. So that allowed us to satisfy the ADA requirements and not have to attempt to relocate Golden Gate Irrigation District's utilities. So thank you for that. And with that, I will stand for questions, and I have some extra slides that we can use if we have questions that we need to answer with them.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
Okay, so let's talk, to quote you, challenges.
Okay.
My concern, I'll be transparent, I just don't want to approve something and have the same issues reoccurring over and over again. I don't want our code enforcement officers to have to be going out on site,
Absolutely
having issues
understandable.
for the police. So kind of walk me through how this is going to be different
You
from the
bet.
previous special use permits
You
that were
betcha.
approved.
You bet. Thank you. That's a great, absolutely valid concern, and I'll just zoom back to the zoomed-in landscape plan so we have a close view of it. The ownership is totally different. Sylvester is the owner of Mission Manor Realty, and I have worked with him on this project and a couple of other projects, so I can give him some character reference on that. That is just not what he's looking for. He's committed to the neighbors. When we met with them in the neighborhood meeting, we are totally happy to be subjected to the requirement to end outside amplification after half hour after dark, or dusk, or whatever as the requirement reads. And by the way, the mobile food truck thing, his vision was that would be similar to what's done at the Hispanic Cultural Center in Nampa. They do food truck events there once in a while, and I think he's envisioning something similar. And then again, this won't be a nightclub, and we would welcome any conditions to say, hey, this can't operate like a nightclub. It's meant for events, for family events. And if every family was a teetotaler family, we wouldn't have had to seek a special use permit. Probably would have just done it in the restaurant space, or in the space, because it wouldn't need a community endorsement. But that is something people like to have, right? And it's at Quinceañeras. So I think that's, I don't know, Madam Hearing Examiner, if there are other things on your mind that would help to prove that out, but that is the way that they intend to use it. And I think that the conditions that staff have proposed will help us to achieve, those limitations, so we're not becoming a bad experience for, the neighbors or for the police department, as has apparently happened in the past.
Okay, thank you. So let's talk about the existing building. So a portion of the existing building is for the restaurant.
Yes.
about another portion, like half of it, or what would you say is going to be for the event center?
It's about 1/3 and 2/3. So the event center is about
Okay.
2/3 of the building.
Okay,
The restaurant exists now, and it is, let me show you so the picture at the top left and top right are the restaurant space. So it's kind of a long, skinny portion of the building, and I
Okay.
believe it's about 1/3. And then the rest of it is that larger space. And it's got it's got the little platform at the end there that you can see in the bottom left picture.
little
and-
stage area? Okay,
So that's about the split, I would say.
okay. And the 37 parking spots, was that correct?
Yes, that was
Yes.
correct.
And that'll accommodate for both the event center and for the restaurant parking requirements?
Yes, it will.
Okay. And then what happens when you do have the food trucks coming in? I'm assuming they're going to be parking in that parking lot, taking parking spots.
Yes.
So how is he going to be, I'm assuming there's not going to be food trucks when there's an event happening that needs parking, or how is that going to be managed?
That's a great question. Our expectation is the way it would be managed is that the food trucks will occupy the parking spaces near the electrical pedestals. And
Okay.
the rest of the parking will be available for the public to use, or the people attending the event to use.
Okay,
So that's how we expect it to be handled. And we recognize we can't go flooding creating a traffic problem with extra parking outside. The street's wide enough that there is available parking on street as well.
Okay.
If, which would be publicly accessible, of course. We couldn't tell people not to park there unless the city prohibited parking there, but the street is plenty wide to accommodate that. There's people that park on the street there now.
Okay.
Some people who reside across the street or attend businesses across the street, they often park along the Fifth Avenue frontage of the parking lot area.
okay. Now, as far as the parking lot, so we're going to be removing some access points. We're going to be repaving it. There's going to be landscape buffer. And what are we doing with stormwater and drainage?
Great question. So previously, here's a 2002 image of the site. The site was paved previously and I talked to the contractor, Sylvester talked to the existing owner, and we were able to trace back and find the contractor that installed the drainage system. So there is an existing drainage system still intact. We cleaned it and inspected it. It is some infiltration galleries or seepage beds, and then all the drainage is retained on site at this point. So the drainage system already exists. And
Okay.
we'll actually be removing some of the impervious area that has previously fed to it, and so very little, frankly, but some with the landscaping some of it will be removed, and so we'll gain a little bit of, I guess, buffer there. But we have worked with engineering on that and are comfortable that the drainage is adequately covered already.
Okay. And then as far as how much construction, as far as the paving, how long do you anticipate that's going to occur?
I think that we would be comfortable with the condition to have that done within 6 months. I think it may be faster than that. Sylvester, we may be in asking for a right-of-way permit if I was faster getting the traffic control plan done. But I think he intends to move on that right away, is my understanding.
Okay.
And so the stuff that has to be done, the sidewalk's in good condition along Fifth Avenue, and it is in poor condition where we have to remove the driveways, so that's kind of an easy, clean sweep. The driveways have to go, the sidewalk should go too, it's broken up. And so that entire Denver frontage will be refreshed. And then we're proposing to not alter the frontage of Elgin and the corner there. The city, I think through a local improvement district potentially, I'm assuming that because it looks like the kind of work that we did under the local improvement district during the years I was employed with the city, and it's got a pretty new ramp and curb and gutter improvements
Okay.
now. So we're proposing to leave that frontage unaltered and fix the stuff that's in bad shape. There is no ADA, the ADA requirements, we now need, we don't just expect people in a wheelchair to pass the driveway on the slope. They've got to have they've got to have compliant sidewalk behind the driveways, and so we'll be adding that at the alley driveway.
Okay, for the ADA, for the ramp and stuff, yes?
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
wrap around that. As you can see, kind of middle bottom of that image is where that red stuff is the new sidewalk. So that'll put sidewalk around the outside of that, so that the folks with accessibility needs have a compliant sidewalk to walk on behind the apron.
Okay. I guess I have a question for staff. So Brent mentioned that the owner would like to start maybe having a occupancy permit sooner before these improvements are handled. Is that something that the city can do? Can a bond be placed for those amounts, letter of credit?
Just one moment.
Yeah,
So these are the, for the operations.
So planning and zoning, Morgan Visa. You have the ability to modify that condition. So if you wanted
Okay.
to add language, we certainly could. It looks like site-specific condition, 4, all parking and landscaping improvements must be completed before the event center begins operations or within 6 months, whichever is sooner. So you could put something in there, like if they thought they were still gonna get it done within 6 months, we could modify that condition to say something like, these improvements must be done within 6 months. However, a temporary certificate of occupancy could be issued if,
Okay.
I mean, you could leave it there, or you could say if the applicant was willing to bond for the infrastructure, whichever one you preferred.
Haley, what are your thoughts? Because I know you guys don't allow bonds. Is it letter of credits that are needed?
Sorry, I should have said provided financial assurances.
Sureties, yeah, no, you're fine. I just want to clarify, just to,
Yeah, Madam Examiner, because this would be mostly private infrastructure, there's some frontage improvements that the applicant will be completing and some sidewalk improvements that the applicant will be completing, but most of this will be more on the private side, just the landscape parking, or parking lot landscaping. From engineering's perspective, I wouldn't see it necessary to do any type
Okay.
of financial guarantee for this project.
okay.
The Planning and Zoning Department has, in the last 6 months or so, I believe, created our own ability to bond for projects for
okay.
things that are private, so that aren't public infrastructure, such as landscaping or amenities, what
Okay.
have you.
Perfect.
So it's possible.
Okay. Would your client be comfortable with placing a bond?
He may. I don't know for sure. The
Because my concern is that we let you guys go,
going.
yeah, and then the improvements take longer than 6 months.
Sure, understood. I guess what I would say is, I don't know, and he's not here for me to ask, but I would say if you feel like that condition is necessary to allow us to go forward, then please impose that condition.
Okay.
And I just would love to see him, start turning some revenue on it.
Sure.
He's put a lot of money into it, and I know that that's, now that I'm sitting here in the middle of this with customers, I'm seeing their pain a little bit more, and I'm like, oh, I want them to
Yeah.
make some money.
No,
you
we
know?
understand, and we want to
So-
be flexible, so, and we know that you guys have been waiting a long time.
Yeah, thank you.
We've been waiting a while for this hearing, so.
Well, and of course, it was deferred a few times because we were still trying to get the
Yes.
side endorsement, right? So,
Yes. Okay,
it's on us.
and then you referenced the neighborhood meeting a few times. Can
Yes. Mm-hmm.
you just talk about that a little bit? And I see no neighbors here, but they did express some concerns.
The biggest concern the neighbors had was that there were fights
Okay,
and loud music, and things were unruly to the wee hours of, Friday, Saturday, Friday, Saturday nights. And so I think that we talked to him. Sylvester was there and said, hey, that's not what we're doing here. He's removed there was a bar set up in the event space. They're going to have to do something in order to serve the alcohol in compliance with the endorsement and whatnot, but it's not set up to be a nightclub anymore.
okay,
And so the neighbors were very happy about that. Particularly, there's a neighbor who lives adjacent, well, I guess there's a lot just at the top of this parking lot diagram. There's a lot that belongs to someone else that doesn't have a house on it. And then the lot is a house, and that neighbor attended. And then a couple neighbors across the street, they were very happy with the idea of it changing to more of a family event-oriented space and having, I think staff's capturing the idea of limiting amplification after dark and things like that help to get to where these guys can enjoy, their property and not be disturbed by the uses here.
Right, it's really late hours, early
So,
morning, yeah.
I did make a mistake on the, we put the correct date on our neighborhood meeting letter, but had the
Okay.
wrong day of the week, for which I paid dearly on Facebook.
Oh, yeah,
But none of the people who were negative on Facebook came to the meeting, so
okay. And staff is aware of this, yes.
if you'll let me indulge the comical element of it, one lady got on Facebook and said, if this man's an elected official, don't vote for him. Can't trust his dates, can't trust his decisions, which was just cute, right? It's just comical. And so I'm not a big Facebooker, but Tammy Franz, who used to work for the city and is a good friend, she said, Brent, you should probably look at this post. So I got in there and said, oh, good news, ma'am, I'm not an elected official, so we're safe there. So
But you did have people attend,
yes, people attended.
so that somehow your information got through
The correct
correctly.
date was on the letter. It just
Okay.
had the wrong day of the week posted.
Okay.
And we had a few people, I don't know that anyone that communicated with us showed up, but we reposted we posted the site because I think the day of the week was the day before. So we posted the site and said, hey, this neighborhood meeting is happening on this day, not on
Okay.
Tuesday. If it was Tuesday, I can't remember, instead of Monday and whatnot. So
Okay.
yeah, I think we got everyone who was interested. And anyway, and our phone number was all over the letter that was sent out, including the copy of it that was reproduced on Facebook and everything, so.
Okay, so thank you for disclosing that. Okay. Staff, let's work on a condition that would allow them to open, but they need to get everything done within 6 months and have a bond surety, whatever the requirements are for staff.
All parking and landscaping improvements must be completed within 6 months. However, a temporary C of O may be issued if the applicant bonds for the landscaping and parking.
Parking, yes, and landscaping, correct.
Improvements.
Correct. Yeah, that sounds great. Brent, do you have anything else that you would like to discuss before we close the public hearing?
I would throw out there, if maybe on our use, what if we were to say that the use could commence? I think that the building still has an active certificate of occupancy from the building department. And so maybe if we just said, to make sure that we're all in the clear, that the use could commence temporarily and with I don't know. I think it's probably fine either way, but.
Okay, so you're saying that there's already a C of O available?
The building already has, I think that there was never a loss of the certificate of occupancy on the building. There was a loss of the conditional use permit, or the special use permit. Anyway, if the team feels like that matters, then let's fix it, and if they don't feel like it matters, then let's rock and roll.
Ladies, did you hear that, staff? He was talking about how he doesn't think that there is,
I think the building still has the certificate of occupancy, but it doesn't have the special use permit. The special use permit was revoked, but the certificate of occupancy wasn't revoked. So I was just saying, what if we were to give us permission to, for the use to commence or something? Whatever you think is best, I'm down with. I just didn't
Oh,
wanna
yeah, sure, we can switch
miss that.
that to the use could commence provided.
Okay,
okay,
thanks.
that's fine. Okay. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. With that, I will close this public hearing. And based on the staff report, findings, public testimony, and that additional condition we're going to be listing, I will approve this application. So, great, thank you. Are we good? We good? Okay.